Pandas! 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 There's interesting facts coming up, but for a second, let's look at some pandas in snow, aging, being shipped back to China due to escalating geopolitical tensions. Because while cute and oafy, and here's one falling out of a tree, pandas are, to quote the woman who wrote the book on it, quote, always political. If you're an avid fun facts consumer, you know that China owns every panda and loans them out to foreign zoos in a practice referred to as panda diplomacy, or if you're in a rush, pandiplomacy. But that's just the tip of the bamboo. It's also, BT dubs, misinformation, because China owns all but 4 of the world's pandas, which might be more interesting than owning all of them. So today we're giving you a proper intro to pandiplomacy, and it starts, as many things do, in the past. Sometime around the 7th century, Chinese Empress Wu Zetian sent 2 assumed-to-be pandas to Japan, which I'd call Japan diplomacy. But pandiplomacy as we recognize it today began in 1941 when the First Lady of the Republic of China thanked the US for its support in World War II by sending Bronx Zoo 2 pandas, named Pandy and Panda thanks to comedic genius and children's radio contest winner Nancy Losteter, age 11. Until the 80s, this was basically how it went. China gifted pandas to nations it liked, which in the early communist days came to mean countries like the USSR and North Korea. But the friend group expanded following Nixon's visit to China when they sent a pair to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. in exchange for an astronomically less chic pair of musk oxen. In the 80s, China shifted from gifting to loaning, so now most pandas go out on a 10-year lease, which gets extended 5 or 10 years at a time. Zoos also pay rent, of sorts, to panda conservation organizations in China, around $500,000 per year per panda, and if you successfully breed a new panda, congrats! That'll be an extra $600,000 a year, and no, you can't keep it. The lease stipulates that any cubs born to leased pandas are Chinese property too and must return to China on their 4th birthday. And after decades of pandiplomacy, all these countries are home to Oreo bears, and China owns all but 4 of them. 3 live at the Taipei Zoo. One, half of a breeding pair the PRC gifted in 2008 as either a sign of friendship or propaganda, depending who you ask. The other 2, offspring of that pair who China doesn't own because they didn't own their parents. The one other independent lives in Mexico City's Chapultepec Zoo, the 33-year-old daughter of the pair China gifted them in the 70s. As for the rest, China decides which countries get them, and there's a well-established pattern of pandas heading to states they have good diplomatic and/or trade relations with. When the Southeast Asian nation's China Free Trade Area was established in 2010, Thailand so happened to get their panda leases extended, and Singapore and Malaysia received pandas within 4 years. In the last decade, China and Russia have strengthened both their economic and political ties to each other, evidenced by Xi Jinping rolling up to Moscow in 2019 with 2 of these idiots, dropping a 15-year lease, and calling Putin his best friend. This graph shows the solid, positive correlation between a country's trade volume with China and the number of pandas received over the years. That dot up there is the United States, number 1 in both. But of course, the US and China are some of the world's most iconic frenemies, beefing over everything from the Korean War to Taiwan to cybersecurity, I could go on. But they also dabble in getting along. Diplomacy, trade, saying some stuff about climate change, and while there's no stated cause and effect between every political tide change and every panda import, we do only get new ones when things are sorta chill. For example, in 1995, China and the US both withdrew their human ambassadors. A year later, they reinstated, and new panda ambassadors arrived at the San Diego Zoo. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization, and 2 years later, the Memphis Zoo got pandas. But of late, vibes have been off. Tensions were rising for a while, then got extra super mega tense, as so many things did, during the Trump administration. Early on, protests in Hong Kong and speeches from local freak Mike Pence strained the relationship, so in 2019, when the lease was up on San Diego's pandas, China took them back without replacements. Then came COVID, and a bit of a trade war, and China's coziness with Putin, and Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, and whatever that whole spy balloon thing was. Again, I could go on. And sure, Biden and Xi have their little chats, but tensions are high, and as such, US panda counts are low. When panda leases came up in Memphis and DC in 2023, all their pandas went back to China, leaving just the 4 at Zoo Atlanta, whose leases expire in December, and since nobody's heard about a renewal, it's safe to assume they're going back too. But how does going back go down? Well, before pandas move, their zoo receives the gigantic steel and plexiglass crates they'll travel in. Keepers acclimate them to hanging out in the boxes for weeks in advance so that, come moving day, they're relaxed. On the day, a forklift brings them to a truck, which takes them to the airport accompanied by a police escort. There, a custom Boeing 777 called the Panda Express awaits, and they're loaded onto a chartered FedEx flight to Chengdu. On board, there's a flight crew, plus a veterinarian and 2 zookeepers to keep the pandas calm, fed, and entertained throughout the 19-hour flight. The plane stocks 220 pounds of bamboo, plenty of water, and a few of each panda's favorite things, preferred snacks or toys, for the toy inclined that is. When 4-year-old Bao Bao left DC in 2017, she didn't get any toys because she liked more highbrow enrichment, namely putting her own arm in her mouth, which, if you haven't tried, pretty fun. Once the pandas leave, zoos are stuck with loads of obsolete infrastructure. Habitats, panda-themed gift shops, plus curators and keepers who'd been devoted full-time to panda research and care. Also, in Atlanta, there are 400 volunteers around the city growing bamboo in their yards and a crew of 6 who go around harvesting it every day. So once the pandas take off, zoos either go the route of the San Diego Zoo, which remodeled Panda Canyon into a red panda habitat, or the way of the National Zoo, which is doing a $1.7 million renovation to their panda habitat in hopes that the pandas return. Good move? Tragic move not even Shakespeare could have imagined? Time will tell. Actually, time is maybe telling already because about 10 hours after I initially recorded this video, Xi Jinping hopped on the mic after spending the day Cali vibing with Cali Biden and said, hey, maybe actually we are down to send y'all more pandas, then implied they go to San Diego instead of DC, which, come to think of it, Shakespeare probably could have come up with because it's in many ways the setup of King Lear. Anyway, maybe by the time you watch this, there will be a panda in every zoo from sea to shining sea. But whatever happens won't be up to the zoos, the conservation orgs, or these dummies, it'll be up to these guys. Now, if you're a panda, you eat up to 84 pounds of bamboo a day. If you're a person, you eat around 4 pounds of whatever a day. And if you'd like that whatever to be delicious, convenient, chef-prepared meals ready in just minutes, you'll want to check out this video's sponsor, Factor. Because look, we'd all love to pretend we have the time to cook an amazing dinner every day, or the money to get takeout all the time, but none of us really do. That's where Factor comes in. They send pre-prepared meals right to your door that are so much better than anything else you can throw together in the same amount of time. Like this vegetable fusilli, or this taco bowl, or ooh la la, this filet mignon. They even have breakfast and lunch options, some of which don't even require a microwave and are perfect for the truly on the go. I've been a loyal, real-life customer of both Factor and their parent company HelloFresh for years and can vouch for how convenient and delicious they are. If you want to give Factor a try, good news! HI viewers like you get 50% off your first Factor box when you head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code HAI50. You'll be supporting this channel when you do, so thanks in advance.